solve a, I mean, support vector machines problems. Okay, so the data sheet will be given to you, and you have to apply SVM to classify it, and you have to identify the support vectors to classify, and you'll have to find the optimal hyperplane to classify both the classes. Okay, so we'll see that in the last class that we have already discussed about the introduction to support vector machine, and you please follow the PPT that I already sent to you. Today itself also I sent few PPTs, lecture materials, so you can also go through it. Okay, so now actually the main concept behind this support vector machine that to make use of a mapping function. So you can say the transformation functions. So this transformation function is denoted by a phi. Okay, so if your data is linearly separable, then it's fine. And if your data is not linearly separable, then you'll have to transform the data from your input space to the feature space by using a functions that is called the mapping function, so that the data can be linearly separable. Okay, so after so your first job will be to check whether your data are linearly separable or not. So now that is why, so you have to use a nonlinear or a mapping function phi, which transform data in input space to data in the feature space in such a way as to render a problem linearly separable. Next is that SVM will automatically discover this optimal hyperplane, because the concept that what we have done. So we are making a one, yi is equal to yi into w into xi plus b, or we have yi into w into xi plus b, which is greater than is equal to 1, with some scaling that we have already done, and then we have conceptualized it with some Lagrange multiplier functions. Okay. Now, suppose if the phi is your, so phi is your function, mapping function, that is your phi w. It is that if you just recall, this phi w is equal to w transpose w. Okay, that is half of w into w that we have seen, subject to the constant. Which constant? That is a wi into means yi into wxi plus b greater than is equal to 1. So that was your constant. Now you have applying some Lagrange multiplier. Okay. Then in the Lagrange multiplier we have seen alpha. Alpha term was there, alpha I. And in the alpha I, whenever you have differentiate this alpha, this L, Lagrange function with respect to W and with respect to B. Now if you just differentiate with respect to B, so you end up with that expressions, that is a summation of I is equal to 1 to m. M means number of feature vectors. Okay, alpha I into yi. So your job is to find the alpha. So that is your job. How to find this alpha? Okay. Now based on this alpha, that you can have this separating the hyperplane that you can have. Now we'll see how you can calculate it practically. Because if the data sets are given to you, how do you apply the support vector machine? Now the SVM automatically discovers the optimal separating hyperplane, and if you would like to get back it from the feature space to input space also, so from the input space to feature space you are applying some phi. Now if you do the reverse process, then you have this phi inverse, then it may be a complex decision surface that you could get from the, if you just want to get back your actual data from a feature space to input space, then you'll have to do the inverse of this function. Then maybe your decision space surface will be complex. So now SVMs are rather very interesting, and it has got its theoretical basis as well as some real world applications also there. People are applying support vector machines in different areas for this, because it is considered to be a linear classifier. Okay. Now to illustrate this idea, so we'll first start with a linear support vector. Okay, it means that so linear support vector machines, whenever I'm using the term is called the linear, it means that a model that you are going to develop, or a model which assumes that that data is linearly separable. If your data is not linearly separable, then you have to apply some transformation functions. So that I will come. Okay. Now we are, for the present moment, we are assuming that your data are linearly separable. Then you can apply linear algebra. Then we'll then expand the example to the nonlinear case also. Firstly, I'll explain to you how to solve a problem, a linear problem. Then we'll look for the nonlinear problem. And then in the nonlinear case, we will see how to demonstrate the role of the mapping function phi. So the mapping function will be given to you. Okay. If it is not given to you, then you can have different type of mapping functions. This is called the kernel. Okay, so you can say sometimes it is called the kernel functions to transform this data from input space to the feature space. Then finally, we'll explain the idea of the kernel, how it allows support vector machines to make use of the high dimensional feature space. Okay, in this case. So now, first example that this is a linear example when this phi is very trivial. Okay. Suppose these are the data sets which are given to E of the two class. One is called the positive class, another is called the negative class. Okay. So now you have the following positively labeled data points in R2 because you this is a two-dimensional feature vector x1 and x2. You have 3 1 3 minus 1 6 1 6 minus 1. You have total 4 samples. And we are given the following negatively labeled data points, that is 1 0 0 1 0 minus 1 minus 1 0. Now we would like to discover a simple support vector machine which accurately discriminates the two classes. You'll have to find a optimal hyperplane. You have to find a optimal hyperplane which discriminate between the two classes. Since your data is linearly separable, when you then you can use a linear support vector machine. Okay, if your data is not linearly separable after plotting, then you can have some nonlinear one transformation function you have to use to make the data linear. Okay, now and so if your data is linearly separable, then you can use a linear SVM. So that is one that whose mapping function is the identity function. So phi is called an identity function because if you are going to apply the linear support vector machine. So now your first job, so if you please plot it. If you just plot it, what you are going to get? Can anyone tell me? So if you just plot it, then how many support vectors you are going to get? You just plot it in x and y. In x1, your in the x-axis is your x1, one feature. Y-axis is your x2, another feature. You just plot it. Plot it and tell me that how many support vectors that you could get on inspections. Anyone can tell me? Have you plotted? Anyone have plotted? Can anyone tell me? So are you getting this type of picture? This is an x-axis. This is an y-axis. You just plot it. It is in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, minus 1, minus 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. Then this is a diamond shape. It is called the blue. And it is a positive class. And this is a circle, square shape.
which is a red, it is a negative class. So now on seeing this data, so do you think these data are linearly separable? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, just your views by inspection, you could see that these data are linearly separable, but you do not know what will be your optimal hyperparameter. But you can guess that which will be your means how many support vectors that you could get. So how many support vector you could consider for your case if you just draw an axis arbitrary. Hmm?
So
Three,
3.
sir.
3. So out of 3 means that out of 3 support vectors, how many are belong to positive class and how many are belong to negative class?
So 2 from positive, 1 from negative.
2 from positive, 1 from negative. Good. Now that's why you could write S1 is equal to 1 0. You just see this is a 1 0. S2 is equal to S1 is the support vector, S2 is equal to 3 1 and S3 is equal to 3 minus 1. Okay, it means that in what follows, we will see that these vectors is augmented with a 1 as a bias input, because you have a formula W transpose X plus B. Okay, so when this bias is there or the W naught, so the bias has to be 1. So now we'll see these vectors, if you just augmented with a 1 as a biased input, then for this clarity we could differentiate this support vector after adding 1. So you are going to change the symbol from S1 to S tilde. Now S1 is 1 0, you just simply add 1. So now this will be a support vector. Okay, this is an 1 0 and 1. Now there is an SVM architecture, it will show you. Now your objective is to find the values of alpha I. Okay, now alpha I, that is if it is a Lagrange multiplier that we have already seen. Now what you have to do, as the formula was summation of I is equal to 1 to m is the number of features, into alpha I into yi, then you have to do the dot product alpha 1, okay, alpha 1 into phi of s1 dot phi of s1. This you have to do the dot product of each the vectors, that because you have this feature vector is s1 s2 and s3, then you have the different possible combinations, then you have to sum them up. Okay, in this way you have to do it. So that alpha 1 into phi s1 dot phi s1 plus alpha 2 I mean phi s2 dot phi s1, then alpha 3 into phi s3 dot s1, and its output is -1. Why -1? Because it is a class is -1. Because in the negative class you have only one feature vector, and in the positive class, because it is in simply scaling. Okay, this is a +1 and -1 that you have, that we have already seen. So that's why we are writing this a -1, as it is this are considering for the negative class. So that's why this is a -1 is coming up. Second is that for alpha 1 phi s1, then s2 you have to take up. Okay, then because for this is an s2 support vector, then alpha 1 phi s1 dot, it is just the dot product. Okay, because you have this phi transpose x. Phi transpose means that is a, we have done, I mean a W transpose dot W that we have already computed by W dot W. So it is just a dot product. That's it. Okay, in this way that you have to think of it. Because if you just consider y is equal to W transpose x plus b, now these things is that phi W is equal to W transpose into W. So that is simply what a W dot W. It is a dot product. So that's why it is written. Okay, phi s1, phi s2, then phi s2, phi s2, then phi s3, phi s2. Next is
S3 that will have, then alpha 1 phi S1 S3, because you have that how many unknowns are there, because you have 3 support vectors, then for each support vector you need to find this value of lambda, then you need to have 3 unknowns. You have the 3 unknowns, lambda 1, lambda 2 and lambda 3. So that in order to solve it, you need to have at least 3 equations. So that's why it is in first equation, second equation and third equation. Since for now you have that your phi is your identity functions, these things is reduced to, that is simply phi S1, it is an S1 tilt. Okay, that is because the bias has to be added into S1 tilde dot S1, then S2 tilde dot S2, then S3 tilde dot S1 is equal to -1, then alpha 1 S1 S2 plus alpha 2 S2 S2 alpha 3 S3 S2. Okay, now similarly you have alpha 1 S1 dot S3 alpha 2 S2 S3 alpha 3 S3 S3 is equal to -1. Sorry, it should be 1.
Yes, the above one as well. 2 will be positive and 1 negative, right?
Yes, sorry, so it was a mistake. So now can you just tell me the equations? What equations finally you are going to end up? Can you just do it for me? If you just do the dot product between S1 and S1 and S1, then and S2 to S1, then S3 to S1, then what results you are going to get? Just do it and tell me the equations, three equations, and you just solve it. How to find the dot product of a vector? Anyone, please tell me the answer. Okay, these three questions. बोलो.
So the first one would be 2 alpha 1 plus 4 alpha 2 plus 4 alpha 3 equals 1.
So this is the diagram. Okay. S1, S2, S3, then you have a dot product, then you have alpha 1, alpha 2 and alpha 3, x into 5. These are the support vectors. Are you getting this answer?
Yes, sir.
It is 2 alpha 1 plus 4 alpha 2 plus 4 alpha 3 is equal to -1. It is one expression. Second one is 4 alpha 1 because then Now if you just solve it, so what will be the value of alpha 1, alpha 2 and alpha 3? You will have alpha 1 is equal to minus 3.5, alpha 2 is equal to 0.75 and alpha 3 is equal to 0.75. Okay. So now this way you have to solve it. So those who do not know how to compute this dot product, so I am telling you, suppose you have 101, now 101.101, it means you have this 1.1 plus 0.0 plus 1.1. So 1.1 means 1, 0.0 is 0, 1.1 is equal to 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so similarly, if you have S2 and S1, so now your S2 is 3, 1, 1, S3 is 3 minus 1, 1, then 3.3 plus 1.1 minus 1, okay, then 1.1, then you will have this 3, 9. Okay, so in this way you have to just compute it. Now after that, so you just do the multiplications for each components of the vector. If the vector if one vector has n component and another vector has this m component, then each component you just multiply it, then add it. Okay, it is just a sum of the product of the vector components. It is just a sum of the product of the vector components. Okay, then you will have this answer. Then if you just solve it, because it is a simultaneous equations, then you have to solve it. Then after solving, you have alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 using these things. So now you can look at how these alpha values, okay, relate to the discriminating the hyperplane. Or in other words, you could say, so now we have the alpha I. Now how do you find the hyperplane which discriminates between these two regions? Okay, how do you find the hyperplane that discriminates the positive samples from the negative samples? Or this is two class. Then it turns out to be, you know, the expression was w is equal to I. It is number of features. I is equal to 1 to m. Then alpha I into si. Okay. So it should be I. Si, yes. So then you have alpha 1, then S1 plus alpha 2, S2, then alpha 3, S3. Then you have, if you just sum them up, then you will have these equations 1, 0, and minus 2. Then finally, if you just recall that our vectors are augmented with a bias, it means that minus 2 is called a bias. Okay, and W is equal to 1 and 0. So you are looking for the W and this B, so that you could draw the line. So now if you just remembering that our vectors are augmented with a bias, then we can equate the last entry in W with a hyperplane. Okay, offset B means offset means this is bias, and if you have to write these equations in this way: 0 is equal to W transpose X plus B with W is equal to 1, 0, that you have already computed after solving it. Okay, this is an optimal, this hyperplane. It is a line equations, as I already told you. If you have these feature vectors are in 2D, then you will have the line. If the feature vector are in 3D, you have the plane. If you have the feature vector in d-dimensional feature vector, then you have this hyperplane. Okay, so that is the concept. So obviously, if you say it is a two-dimensional feature vector, so obviously you will have a separating hyperplane will be a line. So that now which line you are going to draw? It is a W transpose that you know X 1, 0 is given. Now you have to compute this X. So now this is solving for X. It gives this set of two vectors with x1 is equal to 2, because as it is 0, because it has got the two component x1 and x2. Okay, so x2 is 0, so x1 is equal to -2. then and plotting the line, it gives the expected decision surface. Now this will be your optimal hyperplane. X1 is equal to 2 means it is parallel to y-axis. So this will be your optimal hyperplane. Okay. So now this discriminating hyperplane corresponding to the values. Now whenever you are going to find this is a hyperplane, okay, which maximize the distance between these two classes. Okay. So now the points, that is, I mean, these things. So these support vectors are farthest apart from this line. Okay, in such a way so that it maximizes the marginal width. Now this is your optimal hyperplane. X1 is equal to 2 that you have drawn it. It is parallel to y-axis, and with these values is alpha 1, alpha 2, and alpha 2. So this is a very simple example. So obviously the example that I have taken from some materials. So I'll send you this thing. How it is for the linear problem. So now, if the problem is called the nonlinear, suppose you are given the following positively labeled data points: 2, 2, 2, 2 minus 2, minus 2, minus 2, minus 2, 2. It is a positive sample, and it is for the negative samples. Now, can you just plot it and tell me whether these two classes are linearly separable or not? I just plot it.
No, sir.
No, sir.
It is not linearly separable. So do you, I mean, you cannot find that it is not a linear SVM. I mean, if you apply the linear kernel, that these problems cannot be solved as your data are not linearly separable. So now you must use a nonlinear SVM. It means that is one whose mapping function is a nonlinear mapping from input space to some other feature space. So now this is your function. Now you apply this transformation function on this data and try to get this new, I mean, data. You just transform these data for each sample points by applying these transformation functions. Okay, provided the condition is that if x1 square plus x2 square, you have to check this condition. X1 square plus x2 square square root of is greater than 2, then only you could have then the transformations will have, that is a 4 minus x2 plus mod of x1 minus x2 and 4 minus x1 plus mod of x1 minus x2. Otherwise you just keep it as it is. Now you do the transformation for all the sample points, then you plot it, then you tell me whether it is linearly separable or not. Apply it.
So this non-linear mapping, we have to find out ourselves, or it will be given if in the question itself.
Yes, good question. If these mapping functions will be given to you, or you have to devise, or you have to design your mapping function, or you have to, I mean, set a one mapping functions which will help you to transform this data in such a way so that in the higher space, in the transform space, your data will be linearly separable. If it is mostly it is given to you. So Instead of taking this mapping function, you could have taken some other function. That is a sigmoidal functions. You could take some Gaussian kernel. Okay, that type of kernel function that you can use. But it is just for this illustration, set of illustration purpose. So to understand that this function is given to you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So, like if we make positive points, whichever there are, can we do that? Like if the vector given is in 2D and we can make it in 3D and then it is like linearly separable. So will that qualify as the phi?
Yes, you can do it, but mostly we do not require if it is in 2D. Okay, because in this 2D, then there is no need to project it into 3D. Okay, because you do not have the other dimensions. So how do you introduce a new dimensions? Okay. Main things is then if it is not separable in 2D, then you are going to apply some transformation function. You are going to project it in 3D so that it can be separable. So actually, so will be doing it because this is the transformation function that we are using. Okay. So you can project this data from higher dimensional to lower dimensions. Okay. But from the lower dimension to higher dimensions, so how do you get it? So you need to apply some other methods.
Like principal component analysis, sir.
Yes, so you can think of it in a different way, not a very straightforward approach. Because then things will be a little bit clear because from this 2D to 3D, so you can do it because the projections can be done in such a way so that you could have applied some kind of translation method, suppose. Okay, then data translations methods so that if you just do some changes, some its positions from one place to another place. So obviously you can have the linearly separability. So main things is how you are going to design your mapping function or the transformation function. That is, it's up to you. Okay, so the common functions are already available. People are working with the common function and with some
some research problems that people are working with, like this Gaussian functions, Gaussian kernel, sigma model kernel, and like this any other Laplacian kernel. Okay, there are so many kernel functions are available. So if you see the last PPT, that you could find the kernel functions are already given in this PPT. So you can apply it, then you can I mean solve it whether it is linearly separable. I mean, at least to somehow you can manage to have the linearly separable data. Although you cannot find this optimal boundary until and unless you can compute this is an alpha. Okay, Lagrange multipliers values. So have you done it, this problem?
Yes, sir, separable.
So can you tell me the new data set values for the positive level data and the negative level data?
Yes, the positive data sets will be 2, 2, 10, 6, 6, 10, and 6, 6.
Okay, let me. Let me share. So are you getting this type of data when initially you are getting these data? Huh? If you just plot
Yes,
it,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
initially you are getting this type of data when you are going to plot it, because these data are not linearly separable. But the question that you have very much perfect that you asked me. So if you just do a nonlinear classifier, if you just do a circle, na, or here if you make a circle around these data points of the negative, and here if you just another circle, then there is a region that you can have this separability. But here there is a no. I mean, it is a curved linear. You can say this is a curved linear functions. So if you apply the curved linear functions, then these two classes will be separable. Okay, but here we are trying to understand that is how you can find the optimal decision boundary. And if you just plot it, so are you going to get this type of data points in the new feature space? So it is your old feature space, and after transform this data with this transformation function, so you are going this space. Are you going to get this? Are you going to this feature space? Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
So now next that you're going to discover these things. So we have applied, and then this is in figure 3 is you can use how phi transform the data before the dot products are performed. Therefore, you can rewrite the data. So I think so. These are the data points that you are going to get 226, 266. Are you getting these data points in the transformed feature space? Hmm? Then
Uh,
how many support vectors that you can think of it?
2, sir.
2. Okay, good. So now again you can easily identify the support vector by seeing the figure number 7. Okay, so that is S1 1 2 and S2 1 2. So again you can apply this is a bias. It is an one as a bias input, and you can differentiate them as before. Then we must again find for the values these times for constanter. So these are the feature vector. Okay, so these are the constant. Okay, so this constant that is being written in this way because ultimately that we have solved it, na. One equations, this W must be maximized. Okay, you have to find the W and B in such a way so that subject to the constant. So this is a constant alpha 1, then you have to do the dot
Hello,
product. Yes.
hello. In the above slides, two of the points I got different. I got one as 610 and another as 106. In this graph also, 2 points are 610 and 106.
I mean, the support vector which is being projected. So are you getting it or not, or you are getting in a different way?
No, sir, you asked about the transfer or the new points, no, sir. So in that set, I got two different points. Like two of them were 2 2 and another were 6 6. And for other two here, the second and fourth should be 6 4 and sorry 6 10 and 10 6.
Sir, I'm getting that too. 10, 6 and 6, 10. Second
10,
and fourth.
6. Okay,
6,
so you're telling that for the positive sample, I mean the positive level class. So there's a 4 points are there. There's a one is 2 2, means 6 2, 6 6 and 2 2 6. So are you getting the same points or it is different which you are getting?
No, sir, different. 2, 2, 10, 6, 6, 6 and 6, 10.
Acha, 2 2, 10 6, 6 6 and
6, 10.
anyway. So can you please again check it, recheck? Because this is a data point, so I may be so are you check, have you checked it? So this is the same data point that which I have given.
Yes, sir, from the graph also
Excuse
we
me,
can
sir.
input the
In this
points. But
PPT, the mod part is not added.
Sir, it's on the PPT.
So I think some 2 minus 2 minus 2 minus 2 minus 2 2 1 1 1 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. ठीक ही तो है. So anyway, so I also need to check, okay, because you just see these steps, okay. So you apply this transformation function in such a way so that this data in the previous data sets which were not linearly separable, but after applying a kernel, so this kernel that you have designed, so then this applying this kernel, so these data are linearly separable. Then this is the same process that we are following. Okay, so these are the support vectors. One is belong, the one support vector is belong to the negative class, another support vector belongs to the positive class. And then the equation number 1, then it is going to be reduced in this way, the same process. So this even phi is a non-trivial function. So both h1 and h2 map to themselves under phi 1. That is, you have to compute the results because you have these two unknowns and this alpha 1 and alpha 2. As you have the two support vectors, then you need to solve. There is a two unknowns, and then you have to solve these two equations. So it is very easy to solve it. Then you have these solutions. This is the same process that you are going to have. Now you can look at this discriminating hyperparameter in the input space, which is corresponding to alpha. These same equations. Okay. Then you just take it. So this will be your final. Because if you draw it, this hyperplane, so perhaps you could get this maximum boundary between these two classes. Okay, where alpha 1 these things you can compute it. Then 1 1. I mean, separating hyperplane is wx plus b plus w is equal to 1 1 and b is equal to 3. Then plotting the lines gives the expected decision. Okay, so now the thing is that if you just look at, okay, how the SVM model is used to classify the data. So suppose given X, the classification fx is given by the equation. So you can also think of it in this way. So that is the main thing, sir. Like because in the last class, so I forgot to write one important things. Yes, so that is a kernel trick. That is already there. Okay. Yes, so you can also think of it. Okay. Anyway, so this kernel trick is already explained there. Or also, I need to take one extra class. I mean, one additional class to make you understand this is the kernel trick for these things because this is very important concept of the support vector machines, and then people are using in different way. So another also things that how we are going to classify it. Suppose whenever you compute the values of alpha I, and that I already tell if the alpha is equal to 0, then I mean possibly you cannot get, I mean if the Lagrange multiplier is 0, so possibly you cannot get this support vector will not be considered. Okay, and this is a Laplace, this is an alpha I into yi is equal to 0. Okay, and you have to compute this sign of, okay, you have to take a decision of d of z now. So one function is there, f of z, it returns the sign of the z. Now any unknown pattern is coming that is considered to be a z, then you have to compute this sign of this sgn. Sign means what is the, or it is a positive or negative. Okay, if it is a negative, then it is a negative plus. If it is a positive, it is in the positive class. So now this sign has to be computed. Sign of these whole expressions. So which is if you see in the PDF also that you can find it. So it is just a concept that how you put. So very important, very important tutorials that example that is a how you can apply the support vector machines to classify a data sets. If you have this if you're going to solve a two-class classifications problem, suppose for instance you take the example of the iris data sets. As an assignment, you take the example of the iris data set that you used to perform in your machine learning lab. Okay, then you apply this support vector machine within the linear kernel, provided that your data sets are linearly separate. If it is not, then you apply the sigmoidal functions. Okay, to transform this data. But if after applying this, after transforming this data, I mean, if the sigmoidal function is not efficient to transform the data from one space to from another space, then we can also think of the other kernel function. Okay, so this is the way that how in the implementation perspective, how you can implement it. Okay. This is the things that I just one things in there, and one class I'll take one a class also to again reiterate the support vector machines for this kernel trick. So means how many kernels are there? Okay, and what time which kernel that you can use. These are the things. Although I can send you today, if you just look at this PPT, my mail, so you can see that some PDF file is there where you can think of it. I mean, if you just go through it, that one example is there. You can also solve these things, and where to solve a constant optimization techniques problem, you'll have to do the unconstant optimization technique problem. Okay, and to solve this alpha, so actually to solve this alpha, so we are using this KKT condition. So now in the, if you see, I mean, if it is a dual problem, then you have to apply the KKT conditions to find the value of the alpha. And that is also one PDF is there. Okay, so you can also explore it. So these are the things that I just today wanted to tell you about the support vector machine. Then what else I'm left because tomorrow I'll not take any class in the morning. I'll adjust this class probably on. I'll announce the date Okay, so tomorrow morning 8 to 10, so there will not be any class. So I'll adjust the class some other day. Okay. Probably this week or the next Saturday, though I'll adjust this class. Okay. So next class the assignment will be if you are already solved this PCA. So how many students have solved this PCA problem on phase decomposition? Snehal. Snehal Bharatiya has already solved it. Snehal, how many data sets you have tested it? Aditya has solved it. So can you AT&T dataset have you used?
Sir, AT&T data set itself we only solved. Is there any other like phase data set?
Yes. So why did you take your friend's dataset to check the efficiency of your algorithm? You take your 10 friends. From the 10 friends, you just ask them to, take the photographs of their own with different expressions. Okay, one taking this one half face. So can you please test it, Snehal, that if you taking this half face, 50% of the space. You are just placing the camera in half in one place, so that only half of the face is visible. So you take only that photograph. Then you take the one only the frontal. Okay. Then you just take that you just try to do some only this masking. Okay, some kind of mask. If you just, because everyone is using this mask nowadays. Okay, if you just using the mask, okay, then if you just only concentrate on your like this forehead and the eyes and the nose, then whether you can identify this data set or not. So that things that you can check it. So these are your test cases. So yes, let me finish it. Also, you can get dataset from the IIT Kanpur. So if you see that IIT Kanpur dataset is also available, this is a phase biometric datasets, which is there. So you can also get these datasets from the IIT Kanpur. Okay, and another is Freight, F-R-E-I-T, Freight Phase Database. So you can also, and also you can find some Japanese. If you just search in Google, some Japanese phase database is also available. I don't just remember their names. Whether it's a Freight or not, I'll have to check it. So these are some standard datasets. So standard dataset meaning, how do you mean by standard dataset? Can anyone tell me? What do you mean by standard dataset or benchmark dataset?
Sir, maybe organized, sir.
Maybe organized. Yeah, it's fine. More scientifically?
Some research has done.
Exactly, because these standard datasets means that these datasets are called standard because the many researchers across the world has used the dataset and the result has been reported in some scientific journals or some very good conferences. And these across the world, their results has been well accepted based on their datasets. So that is why it is called the benchmark or the standard dataset. Okay, so the two names are interchangeably used. This is called a benchmark dataset, or there is a standard dataset. Means whenever you are going to capture your own dataset, because your dataset has not been used by any other people or any other research community previously, so that your dataset that you are going to capture, that cannot be considered as a standard dataset. If your dataset you are going to publish it publicly, okay, with some conditions, okay, then and somebody or some research communities are using your dataset and apply their algorithms on your dataset and publish their results in any and submitted it in some good conferences and journal, and the community and the research community is evaluated it and it is in well acceptable form, or it is, if your results are well accepted, then it will be gradually considered to be a standard dataset. So now AT&T dataset people are using. Okay, so means until or unless that you can validate your results with some standard techniques or standard datasets, so your contributions or your novelty will not be judged properly. You cannot claim this, sir, this is my very good techniques or that I have applied or I have thought of. So until or unless that it is verified or it is compared with some other techniques, existing state-of-art methods. So always it is better you'll have to compare your algorithm with state-of-the-art techniques. So the state-of-the-art techniques or state-of-the-art methods that you have to compare. Okay, so you can Snehal, you can search for some IIT Kanpur dataset and let me know in Monday. This Wednesday whether you could be able to download this dataset or you can apply it or not, and how much accuracy that you have reported. Okay.
So I found some IEEE data port for Indian phase database. Can I use that?
Yes, you can use it. But
also, so one
bolo?
in this like support vector machine example, why are we augmenting 1 at the end of the vector? I didn't get that.
Yes. So it is not necessarily true. You can have this augmenting it 1. It is just an offset value. It may be 1. It's maybe 2. It may be 3.
Why do we need that?
No, because yes, offset means that it is kind of gain. If you just look at the concept of is your electrical circuit. So in the electrical circuit, so if you are seeing that we are using some kind of gain or some kind of offset value to attain some output. If your output is larger than your expected, then you apply some negative gain. And if your output is less than that you expected, then you apply some positive gain. It is just a gain. It's just like an amplifier. Okay. So now here itself also, so bias is going to be added because whenever you are learning, this is an artificial neural network. Because in the support vector, as I already told you, it is a byproduct of the statistical learning theory, and sometimes it is known as it is a pattern recognition or it is artificial neural networks. Here also will be using some bias. So it is just an additional element. Okay, to sometimes because in the experiment you do not know that because these data that you're using, so means whether it is the output is going to be expected or it is not. So sometimes it is required to be attached this, you have to augment the gain, or this is an offset value. So the offset is this is very much important. So that is why it is actually it is not an bias, it is, you can say it is something offset. So this offset concept is coming from the electrical engineering concepts, because if you have the electrical circuitry, so where the offset is being to added. Okay, to just monitor or to just adjust these outputs that you are going to get. So that is why it is that we are going to add. Okay.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, actually, I have done the PCA experiment or assignment on ORL image data set that you have given, and also on Yale,
yes,
and also on Yale faces. Yale face, and also on Yale database, sir.
What Yale data set that you have implemented?
Yes, sir.
How many persons data that you have considered?
Sir, it have let me see there. It has 14 subjects, and each subject has 11 expressions. Okay, so I have taken 7 for from each subject. I have taken 7 for training, remaining 4 for testing. And in this data set, actually, there is a more background space. I mean, the photo which are cropped, have more background space, so the efficiency of PCA decrease. And I read about this in Wikipedia. It said that if cropping of faces are not properly or have more background space, the PCA will efficiency will decrease according to it.
Yes, actually, what you have to do now, firstly, before using this entire thing, so there's a region of interest. So in image processing, there's a concept is called the region of interest, ROI. So try to extract the ROI from your actual images. So in the image, you will have the foreground, the background. Okay, you have to extract the foreground image. So foreground image is called the ROI. So region of interest from the background image. Okay, so now how do you do it? You have to just have a rectangular blob. Okay, so you have to have a rectangular blob to, identify the person, to track this object, or to track the person face. So only that many pixels that you need to consider. Okay, so you have to just consider that you have to find a one rectangular blob. Then only that much portion you consider, and that much pixel intensity values you can consider. What do you think? Then obviously your accuracy will be improved.
Yes, sir, that is what I found now. In overall database that you have given, I have proper cropped images with minimum background. So its efficiency was more than the Yale database, and I reported in my report.
How much
Sir, actually in my overall, now I am getting 90%, and in my Yale database, it was something about 85%, average 85%. When K values are varied from 1 to maximum K value that I could have taken.
So which classification, which dissimilarity measurement technique you are applying? Euclidean distance metric?
Yes, a Euclidean.
So can you just change with some other classifier to check whether your accuracy is being improved or not?
Okay.
Can you test it?
Okay, I will test.
Because Euclidean metric, distance metric, or this is called the dissimilarity measurement techniques. Okay, so it is not always give it to this very good accuracy. Okay, because if you just apply some other distance metric, okay, or some other classifier, then you can test it. Okay, Aditya, and you do one thing. So you just add some. You just try to find out this is a false acceptance rate and false rejection rate. So I need to explain to you, because so whenever you are going to do this performance analysis of a classifier, so it is always better to perform a confusion matrix. So confusion matrix that I already explained in one of the class in the base decisions rule. Okay, if you just recall it. So if you just draw a confusion matrix, so from the confusion matrix, you need to find the accuracy, precisions, recall, and F measures. These are these 4 important metrics that you need to find out. So based on these things, you can tell, sir, yes, so the classifier is giving us this very good result. And the proof, what is your proof? Because you have evaluated the performance of the classifier using those metrics. Okay. So if I get time anytime, so I'll also explain. And also another thing is that you need to also do for the ROC curve. This is called the receiver operating characteristic curve. So the performance evaluation of a classifier can also be demonstrated using the ROC curve. So in the ROC curve, so there is a false acceptance rate versus this is an or you can FAR versus FRR. False acceptance rate versus false rejection rate. And if you have any intersection region between FAR and FRR, this intersection point is called the EER, equal error rate. If you find any other research paper also, so instead of reporting the accuracy, then sometimes some research paper also you can find they are showing the performance measure of the classifier using this EER, equal error rate. It is none other than just whenever you are going to computing this precision recall, or you can have this sensitivity and the specificity of the classifier. Then from the sensitivity and the specificity of the classifier, you can have the precision and this EER,
equal error rate. It is just a ER is equal to formula FAR plus FRR divided by 2. Just average of the false acceptance rate plus false rejection rate. And there is a trade-off between the FAR and FRR. Then if you just draw a curve, this is called the ROC curve. Okay. So all these things I'll explain to you when I get some time, because performance analysis of a classifier, which metric that you should use. So these are the things which is very important. So without it, it will be incomplete. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll quit. So those who have recently joined, because I already, because few executive PhD students have recently joined it, so probably, so I have covered so many things in machine learning. So you have to just cope up, and you have to try to cope up with this thing. And I can send you, or you can ask your friends from the executive PhD students, those who are attending my class from the day one. So I'm just requesting them to please circulate all my materials that I have sent so far to them, so that they can able to understand. Okay. And
Okay, sir. Thank you.
okay, so these those few students or executive PhD students who have joined and who are regularly taking, I mean, doing my classes from the day one. So you could just ask them to get the lecture notes. So I have already sent them, and I have covered, I mean, maximum things. I mean, not maximum thing, half of the things that email I have already completed. So probably in the next class, so I'll start a topic, or this is a support. There's artificial neural network that I'll start ANN. In the ANN, then I'll start this hidden Markov model is left, decision tree is left, then the clustering method. So there is so many things that are clustering, decision tree, hidden Markov model, and ANN. So let me just complete it all these things, then I'll come back again this game. Okay. So probably I'll announce the date. Tomorrow I'm not going to take any class, so I'll adjust this in some other time. Okay. Don't worry. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.